On July 2nd, 1860, Queen Victoria pulled a silken string attached to the trigger of this rifle, thereby firing it and opening the inaugural rifle meeting of the National Rifle Association. This shot signified many things, namely the beginning of two very important symbiotic entities. The first was a firearms revolution that would see rifles extend their range and accuracy beyond all expectation. The second was a body to use these new rifles and perfect their use: the volunteers. A French invasion scare of the late 1850s prompted the formation of volunteer rifle corps across Great Britain, the bread and butter of which was shooting. Though initially limited to the service rifle of the day, the Enfield muzzleloader, they quickly became devotees to and experts with a new type of rifle. These rifles were far more accurate at far greater ranges than the large-bore service rifle and could increase accuracy 5 or 6 times over that of the service arm. The invention of these rifles was due to a brilliant engineer of the era, Sir Joseph Whitworth. Though not a career firearms designer, Whitworth put his keen mind to work and devised a better system of rifling and ammunition. The barrel was rifled with a very quick 1 turn in 20 inches versus the service twist of 1 in 78. It was of small bore, .451 in caliber, and the most distinctive feature of all, it was hexagonal. The ammunition was not the stubby, thick bullet of the Enfield, but was made long and sleek in order to keep the weight similar to the service round. This required the faster twist in order to keep it stable in flight, and was made in both hexagonal and cylindrical versions. These rifles were made to closely resemble the military arm, seen here at the bottom, and the volunteers, as well as any self-respecting civilian riflemen, gravitated to them for their use in the NRA competitions. Whitworth did not stand alone for long, however, with his new system, and many others, including Henry, Kerr, Metford, and Rigby, raced to improve on the original design. Soon, the sport of shooting, and its champion, the National Rifle Association, became very popular, and the constant desire for more accuracy saw the original full-stocked military-type rifles change into a heavy-barreled thoroughbred, devoid of wood, rammer, and any military application. The pure target rifle had arrived. The Parker Hale volunteer rifle is a reproduction of one of a series of the first-generation small-bore military target rifles, as was used by the Volunteer Rifle Corps of the early 1860s. Originally offered with Rigby rifling, production was soon switched to Henry rifling. My rifle differs from the historical in one key area, that of the sights. Originally equipped with a bead front sight and service-style ladder rear sight, I have added a Pedersoli vernier peep sight and a Lyman foresight, suitable for use with Anschutz inserts. When I say that the sights differ from the historical, I'm referring to, of course, the fact that although these style sights were used a little bit later into the 1870s, their use with a rifle such as this is not particularly historical. Shooting these rifles with any degree of accuracy requires attention is paid to the loading process, particularly in keeping the bore clean and loading with consistency. To this end, I have built a special box so that these processes are self-contained and are as efficient as possible. On the back of the box, there is a rifle stand that folds out and forms somewhat of a tripod with a shelf for the butt of the rifle. Once unfolded and placed in a suitable location, the rifle can then be placed with the lock facing in through the center hole. The hole is in the position so that the hammer and the sight can protrude through without any hindrance. If the rifle rests deployed, the box is held at a convenient angle, and the various components are within easy reach. At the top, there's a rack for 60 rounds, fully lubricated and ready for use. On either wing, there are two boxes, one for wet patches and one for dry. Below the bullet rack, there is a fold-down container for caps. Once it is folded down, the lid can be opened for ready use. Below the cap box, there's a rack for 60 vials containing finely measured powder charges. And below this, there's a small brass box to contain the cardboard wads. For storage, this brass box is kept below the powder vials, but for ease of use, its position is switched to just underneath the bullet rack. From here, easy access is gained. At the bottom edge of the range box, there's a black container for sight inserts and a sheath for the 10 musket cap capper. Though not required for shooting, it makes things easier when you're at the bench. On the doors of the range box, we have a long funnel that is of barrel length and a range rod with jag. These two are critical pieces of kit, as we shall soon see. There are many ways to load the small bore military target rifle, but this is mine. First, I place the funnel inside the barrel. This prevents any powder from sticking to the inside of the bore and ensures a nice, even, compact distribution of powder at the breech. Powder charges are weighed to within 1/10 of a grain. Once the powder is settled, simply remove the funnel and replace it in the range box. The next step is to seat one of the small cardboard wads. These are commercially available and come in packages of 1,000. With the wad seated at the muzzle, all that remains is to push the wad to the top of the powder charge. It's critical here not to tamp on the powder charge when seating the wad. Simply push it down until it stops. With the wad seated and sealing the powder charge in the breech, the next step is to swab the barrel with a damp patch. It's important that these patches are just damp, not soaking wet. If too wet, they risk contaminating the powder charge beneath the wad in the breech. 1 or 2 cycles up and down, always mindful of where that wad sits, is all that's required with the damp patch. As you can see, fouling from the shot before is loosened and removed. A further step to cleaning is the application of a dry patch. Just like it says, this will be pushed down to soak up any residual moisture and fouling from the bore. I typically cycle the patch twice to make sure that I've got as much moisture out of the barrel as possible. Again, always mindful of where that wad sits. With the barrel clean, all that remains is to insert the bullet. These should be sized to a 1/1000th smaller than the barrel and should sit at the muzzle. Ramming should only require the weight of the ramrod. As I alluded to earlier, I typically use a 10-round musket cap sized capper. These are loaded easily through the port in the side and hold a convenient 10 caps. Now all this may seem like an awful lot of work to be done for the firing of just one round, but with practice and the good established rhythm, the process can be completed in about 1 minute. All that remains is to cap the rifle using the capper, at the firing position. Once you're done, you're ready to fire. And these rifles definitely let you know that they're being shot. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look at a rather unique and little known muzzleloading rifle.